Hammer stream time, Shane. We are back. Manic and chill. We got a different background. It's you and I for another Tuesday night where we are just going to rip through. What did I show you? Hammers. Brought my trusty hammer onto the stream. Are you ready to get into the daunting task of getting through all of these trade questions? And we'll take some from the crowd if we have time. And of course, after this, head on over to the Discord. We'll do the second half of the show with our patrons over at patreon.com/allgas. If you want to submit a hammer, we're running like 2 shows behind. buymeacoffee.com/trades-in-5. We will get to your question, and Shane and I will do extra hammer streams if we need to get them addressed in a timely manner. So, Shane, how you doing? Ready to get into the first hammer? You got your trade brain on?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's rock. Let's hammer it out, bro.
I need Shane to star some comments that can be used as some discussion in between all of these questions. But the first one comes from NerdWorks. This is one hammer, 12x9 PPR only Superflex. We have Allen, Burrow, Bijan, Kyron, JT, Jalen Warren, Blake Corum. Man, it's a stacked roster. This is a pay to brag. JJ, CD, Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Mark Andrews, Jake Ferguson. We have no picks. Shane, are you giving T. Higgins to get Matt Stafford?
Sure.
No. I'll just make this one quick. You have Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. You don't need a third QB. What you need is some liquid. Right, but you need some liquid capital here, right? We have too good of a team to be sitting on guys like Jalen Warren, T. Higgins. Like, those are guys wouldn't you rather just trade for draft picks than try to get cute and buying a QB3?
Yeah, Matt Stafford's probably not going to make a difference in a 12x9, to be honest with you. You'd want a needle mover. This is probably, like you like to talk about, this is insurance. It probably just makes you feel safer than you really, but you're not. It's buying tornado insurance in Philadelphia. But sure, you might get hit by a tornado, but it's very, very rare. And even if you do, it's going to be light. So it's not really going to protect you. So, I like your suggestion. Let's go hold off.
Yeah, and you can pull from multiple assets here. Like, you don't need Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Blake Corum, Jalen Warren. You don't need T. Higgins. You probably could afford to trade either one of Amon-Ra or AJ Brown if you wanted. If you had the right offer, like, really a couple pieces are on the table. But what I'm not trying to do is go, ooh, worst case scenario, one of my quarterbacks goes down, I have a third QB. I would just address it later, and you can address it by getting some picks instead of just making the trade today. So thank you for that one, NerdWorks. Next one, we have a hammer from Nate Murrow, 12x11, Superflex PPR, 0.5 tight end premium. Allen, Geno Smith, James Conner, Ramondre Stevenson, Rashad White, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Jaden Reed, Andrews, Kelsey. Do I give up Lamb for Higgins/Waddle or trade Andrews for Higgins/Komet? Interesting. He put Higgins on one and T on the other. You're shaking your head no on the first trade for sure, right? 12x11? You wouldn't consider Lamb for Waddle, and if you could flip Higgins for a first, you wouldn't be interested in a 12x11?
Yeah, I would consider it, but no, I'm going to pass.
Okay, what about the other trade? Tell you what, Andrews and a half tight end premium when you already have Kelsey?
T and Komet. If I could get a better tight end out of this deal, I would think about it. If that Komet was something closer to Evan Ingram, there's like our 2 favorite tight ends, right? Who are our 2 favorite tight ends in the world? It's Evan Ingram and it's David Njoku. But if it was someone along those lines, even Dallas Goedert as opposed to Komet, I think Komet's going to get really squeezed this year. So no, I think I'll pass on the second one. I would think about that first deal, really. Higgins and Waddle in a start 11. That is hard to pass up. I really do hate giving up Lamb, but you do need some depth in a start 11, even with Kluss and Andrews, Reed and Adams. So I would think hard about it. I'd probably pass.
I love the Kluss.
Yeah, Kluss is one of my favorite underrated tight ends. No one sees him coming, but I'd probably pass on it. See if I can make some other things happen.
So I'm more favorable to doing the second deal because I'm trading from my there's a benefit having 2 elite tight ends, right? You're hoarding one from everybody else. You can probably start both of these guys easily in your lineup because even in a 1.5, they're flexible. So I think part of it is you got to get the value back alongside T. Cole Kmet doesn't count. That's where we're basically getting a backup tight end, right? We're not getting a flex starter there. So if I could get another starter, it doesn't even have to be another tight end, but another starter in place of Kmet, I'd be willing to do it. I'd love if I can get a 26 first or something on top of T. I'd be willing to do that second trade and just gamble with, a backup tight end somewhere else that I can get for free. So thank you for the question. Gonna hide that, address the crowd. I see some people already in here saying hit the like button, please. Yes, hit the like button. Make sure you leave any sort of comments or anything that you want to get on here. If you have a creative way to get Shane's attention, he'll definitely throw up a couple comments during the stream. So we're gonna get to the next set of hammers here. This is a 5 hammer question from J. 10x9 Superflex. PPR, we have Burrow, Lamar, Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and all the Raiders QBs. And for some reason, with all of those, we are still rostering backups. I don't know if I'd be doing that in the 10-teamer, Shane, especially when we already have, 6.5 starters? Something like that. Anyway, Breece Hall, ETN, Javonte, Gus, Zach Charbonnet, running backs, Amon-Ra, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Olave, DK Metcalf, and Jalen Polk, making a rare appearance on a stream. Jalen Polk's getting some buzz, Shane. People don't normally list Jalen Polk, but I think that might be one people are going to start listing now as one of the threshold pieces that they can count on. McBride and Njoku, all future firsts and seconds, and an extra 26 first. Defending champ, Shane. I have an unintentional QB hoard in a 10-team league where I know that's less advantageous. How should I approach the QB position here? There you go. What are you doing? You've already made the quote-unquote mistake of getting too many quarterbacks. I'm guessing a guy like Michael Penix was like a mid-second round pick or something like that. And, you can't sell any of these guys for much unless you're willing to go to the very top. Like, you probably got to sell one of your top 3. Maybe Caleb counts it too. But, what are you willing to accept in a 10-teamer knowing they're already devalued?
Yeah, I'm trying to sell Lamar and A-Rich. Those are the ones that people are going to want. Lamar, A-Rich, and Caleb. You're going to be shooting for a wide receiver 1 with one of those. Because if you go to the room and you're like, hey, can I sell you Burrow and Penix, the ones that you want to sell, no one's going to buy them off of you. I'm hoping that you haven't already tried to sell Lamar, A-Rich, and Caleb and been turned down. Because if you were and then went ahead and added Penix in the draft too, well, then I'm just disappointed in you as a human being for then adding Penix later. Regardless,
what are you selling Burrow for? He seems to be the one you would trade. Now he's the least desirable probably of the 4. Maybe him and Caleb.
No, I don't even think. Don't even think you're moving Burrow. I think you probably have to move Lamar, A-Rich, or Caleb. You got to move at least probably one of them.
Okay, so Michael Pittman for Lamar, would you do it? Like that? That's the kind of price you would end up. You're not getting a hammer most likely unless you are adding. Would you add Chris Olave to Lamar Jackson to get CeeDee Lamb? It's a 10-teamer, Shane. I guarantee you, any other team that wants QBs is looking at their QB room of Brock Purdy, Tua, and Jared Goff going, I'm good. I don't need to pay for your Caleb. I don't need to pay for – the league has to value the upside of Lamar or A-Rich, and if they don't, what would you accept?
Man, you have to play to the league that you're in. I mean, you have to play to the league that you're in. The fact that all these dudes are on the team, the fact that you have Burrow, Lamar, A-Rich, and then drafted Caleb shows me that your league doesn't give a crap about. I said crap. Jesus.
You nailed the point. The fact he's asking this question
does not
paying $25 to ask, what do I do? I guarantee you he's probably already tried to shop them.
And he wants someone to tell him to do the disgusting thing. He wants someone to tell him to do something that he does not feel good about doing, right? He wants someone to tell him to do this.
Which is trade Lamar for what?
It might be Lamar for Pittman, but you know what? Yeah, but if that's the choice, I'd rather, like you said, I'd rather just add Olave to Lamar and just get CeeDee Lamb. I'd rather do that. They're both disgusting, right? They're both going to make me vomit all over my face. But at least in one case, I'm getting a legitimate top end elite wide receiver as opposed to a back end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. I would like to know where he drafted Caleb. If he drafted Caleb at 101, I have problems with him, but he probably got Caleb at like 102, 103.
Unfortunately, I'm guessing he probably drafted Caleb over Malik Neighbors, which hopefully he didn't, but that would be a deal where if you could say, hey, I regret that choice. Can we go back in time and offer Caleb for Malik Neighbors? You'd even probably throw in a second to fix that, right? To reverse that draft pick that probably was made erroneously.
Yeah. If he took Caleb at 102 or if he took Caleb at 101, I'd go to the Marvin Harrison.
Probably 102. But if he listened to us, I mean, how often did we say this spring in a 10-teamer, what are we not doing?
Yeah.
Passing Marv or Neighbors for a QB, right? Just not going to do it unless your league actually values quarterbacks, because in 10-teamers, they typically don't. Let me ask you this. What if you just said, and we know who they're probably going to pick. They're probably going to pick A-Rich or Lamar or then Burrow and then Caleb, probably in that order, right? You know the one somebody else is going to want more than the others. But if someone would give you a 25 and a 26 first to offer it gets any of the 4 quarterbacks, would you just take it, given the problem that you have? You would just take 2 firsts, add them to your war chest of picks, and just move on with life. Would you be fine with that, no matter which one they choose?
I mean, fine's a strong word. Fine as in the sense of like I'm fine with many of the things that I do in life that I hate that I do, but you have to do them. Fine, yes. Like I get up every morning and go to work. Fine, yes. That fine.
You know what doesn't feel good is when you start the 2 guys on this group of 4 quarterbacks that are not in the top 10 for the week, and you have 2 top 5 QBs on the bench.
Oh, am I sitting Caleb and Burrow again? Good times. No, maybe I'll sit Lamar.
You're going to naturally sit them, and then they're going to be better than the other 2 40% of the time, and you're going to go, man, I wish I would have had this problem, and I had other things to start instead. So you got to be creative, but I think Shane is saying rip off the Band-Aid, and you're going to probably have to take a deal that you really don't love, but
this is not even ripping off a Band-Aid. This is like you're an amputee and you're ripping off the fake appendage they gave you before like your amputee stump is even healed. You're just ripping off the fake arm and just throwing it and like, you got to do it.
And hopefully we have no listeners that are amputees and we're offended by that. Shane means no harm with those comments. He was just trying to give everybody a visual analogy to how bad that situation is. We got 4 from Connor Bradford, another 10x9. This is 2 QB. At least if the other one was 2 QB, I could live with hoarding a little bit more. You know what I mean? I'd be more comfortable with knowing I might need a array of those QBs. So 2 QB, half PPR. I assume that's across the board. Jalen Hurts, and then we have DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Walker, Tank Dell. I assume that's Tank Dell and not Tank Bigsby, but I guess it could. Is that Tank Dell or Tank Bigsby? Because it's listed right between the running backs and the receivers, and you could justify Tank Dell above DK, but you could also justify Tank Bigsby as your last running back listed.
No one is referring to Tank Bigsby as Tank. That's Dell. He's earned that nickname. Tank Bigsby is in the cans section of the room. Like he doesn't get a name. He's a can.
So you think it's fair listing Tank Dell over DK Metcalf?
Yes.
Subliminally, people will list the way that they value the players. I guarantee they will list it in a certain order subliminally or subconsciously. They'll put them in that order.
Tank Dell was what, 15.7 fantasy points last year? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What was DK Metcalf?
I think only DK is what was that 2020 season where he was the outlier. Everything else, he's been like 13 and a half points per game. So sure. We're going to assume it's Tank Dell. If not, if it's Tank Bigsby, then we're in trouble. All right. This is a draft question. We have Laporta, Hawkinson at tight end. We have really little at receiver, assuming Josh Downs is our wide receiver 3. We have 325 first. We also have the 101 and the 105. Okay. It's fitting these questions are back to back, right? Planning to take Caleb at 101. Should I move back from the 105 to later pick for capital? Or should I Who should I pick? Marvin Harrison, Rome, or Neighbors most likely will be gone. So he just said, I assume Connor is a he. He just said that if he goes Caleb at 1, it'll go Marv, Rome, and Neighbors. So what did you learn by that pick of Caleb at 1, Shane? Are you pivoting here? Because he's going to end up with now Jaden Daniels. Now it's a 2 QB league. Does that make you want to have Jalen Hurts and Caleb Williams? What's your approach here?
No, because I'm fine going Hurts, and then I'll have Jaden Daniels. He has no other quarterbacks on this roster. You listed
We're working with what we have listed.
Yeah, so the way he words this, I might just go Hurts, Caleb, and then Jaden Daniels at 105 because it's 2 QB. Because he literally lists no other QB. You know how much I hate, even though in 2 QB, I'm still not doing that. I'm still going to go.
Wouldn't you rather have Marvin Harrison even in a 2 QB 10-teamer? Because it's still a 10-teamer. Because, okay, here's the answer. I know he asked who should he pick. At 5, if you know you're getting Jaden Daniels and you know that's locked down, then we're taking Jaden Daniels. The question is, what do I do with 101? A, what else is the quarterback market like in my league? And B, what else can I do with the 101? I'm fine taking Marv. He's probably the best. Other than Bijan last year, you're not going to see a skill player come into the league with more value than Marvin Harrison, right? So you're already getting like a top 8 skill player in Dynasty with a rookie pick. So you can't probably top that. You know the list of players that you could maybe trade that pick for, and if you're not getting one of those, make the pick. Here'd be my question, Shane. What is the quarterback market in this league? Meaning, can I easily go trade for a Kirk Cousins for like nothing? Because if I can, then the 2 QB thing doesn't mean much because I should be able to fill QB 3, 4, 5, whatever easily.
Can you roll the film to the second part of this question again? The fact that it's Marvin Harrison, Rome, and Neighbors in a 2 QB league going next and not Daniels, May, somewhere in those. It means
they're just pointing at you laughing for being the sucker that values QBs, right?
To me, that means that, you can go get a QB in this league because at least 3 other people in your league clearly don't value quarterbacks that highly because not one of them even is apparently thinking about taking Jaden Daniels, who I can't believe whoever the Rome dude is specifically, I can't believe that whoever is planning on taking Rome, and I don't know how locked down this is or how true it is. I'm a little surprised that whoever's taking Rome would take Rome over Jaden Daniels.
And these teams are picking 2, 3, 4. So unless they all have other people's picks, I can't imagine they're rolling out Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like they're probably also not great at quarterback, at least one of them. And they're all just saying, we don't really value QB here, even though we have to start 2. That's why that's the test. If you're going to tell me QB is the value, is QB really the value? Right? Because the draft order here tells me QB isn't really valued in this league. But could I go easily trade for a guy like Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson? If I can get a guy like that for less than a first, because it's a quote-unquote 10-teamer, why am I drafting 2 QBs in the rookie draft, right? I would pass on Caleb, force somebody else to take him, take Marv, and if Daniels falls to me, fine. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But it means I should be able to fill my QB room pretty easily around a stud already in Jalen Hurts. So I'm not just ripping quarterbacks here. It feels like it's suboptimal with the information that we have.
Yeah.
Connor, thank you for that hammer. We got another 5 hammer. This is from Punk Lumberjack. It's a 12x10, Superflex PPR. We have Cousins, Minshew, Will Levis. Okay, that's an interesting QB room. McCaffrey, ETN, Chuba Hubbard, J.K. Dobbins. We're still listing J.K. Dobbins as an asset, Shane. Would you or no?
No, not for a couple
Would
years.
that fit the category of cans?
He is a can, which hurts because I love that dude coming out of college, man. Probably my favorite running back out of that class for whatever it's worth, which is
I would say most players that are elite athletes, no matter what sport they play, if you give them an Achilles and an ACL injury, they're just not the same. So we'll see. I hope he makes it back, but for now, he's probably not worth listing. But he's listing out his team. He's got Michael Pittman Jr., Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Romeo Dobbs, and could be Michael Wilson. It could be Roman Wilson. I don't think there's any other Wilsons that would be worth listing, but one of those two, I don't think you really care, do you?
No.
Yeah. And we have Kelsey and Bowers. We're returning champ with all of our picks. I'm looking to improve at QB and wide receiver. Think inbox offer. We're being offered Jalen Waddle. We are giving up Christian Kirk and Ladd McConkey. This is here's the settings again, 12 by 10 PPR. So we're the defending champ, so we have a title to uphold, but man, we're a little weak at receiver. I doesn't feel like I'm really upgrading here unless I have a bigger plan with Jalen Waddle. Doesn't it feel like I'm giving up two receivers that are probably valued in a range where I'd almost rather have those two on a roster like this than Waddle?
Who's MPJ?
Michael Pittman Jr. is our one.
Thank you. Peanut butter and jelly. That's all I could think of. And I haven't had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in forever. And you know what? Last night, I was laying on the sofa and it was like 11:45. And I was like, I really want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I was like, you can't eat one at 11:45 at night. Completely unacceptable to do that as a full grown man. You can't do that.
Shane, everyone knows from the Shane episode, you talked about microwavable meals, right? They make something called Uncrustables. You've heard of those?
They're disgusting. So bad.
It's peanut butter. Disgusting. You pull them right out of the freezer, and you got yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
No. That is.
You mean like one you have to actually sit down and make yourself, like a homemade one?
Yeah, that's the good stuff, and it's not jelly; it's jam. So it's the actual fruit jam.
Okay.
Not like from a.
Well, there's the team
supermarket. Obviously, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I actually will do this because. Obviously, I have a very low opinion of Ladd. Kirk doesn't have a lot of resale value. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those like puddle jump moves, right? Yeah. What else could I do with Waddle if I wanted to? Waddle, I could not easily, but I'd be able to puddle jump up to a higher tier if I ever wanted to do it, as opposed to with Kirk, Ladd, and an additional piece. I could never get into an elite tier of wide receiver with like Kirk, Ladd, and a pick. I could with Waddle on a pick, though. So I think I would actually do this deal. I would do this deal. So then it would go to peanut butter and jelly and Waddle as my wide receivers 1 and 2. And I do like that, actually. And we'd have Amari
Cooper still in there. We do have Keenan Allen. I mean, we're a little slim at receiver bodies. Comment in the chat said, how did this team win the title? I'm guessing it's just because we had CMC, Amari Cooper, Travis, we just had some big games at the right time, right? Like, this isn't a overly stacked team. It should be a reminder that you just got to get there, right? Like, no one saw Amari Cooper's 50-point game coming in week 16, but if you had it, you probably made the finals. And then in week 17, if you had one or two players that smashed, like, you win and you didn't deserve it. So yeah, I'm okay with the deal. I'd just be thinking of what else can I do with Waddle? Does Waddle allow me to get a package that's more valuable, right? Can I get another quarterback and something for that? Like, I don't know what else I would try to do, but I think your argument is you're taking two assets that are probably hard to sell individually and getting one that's more flexible, because this team's going to need some flexibility. So I like it.
So I just funny, Fantasy Plumber brought up the fact that happy birthday to Amari Cooper. He's now 30, which is hilarious. If you've been in fantasy long enough, you remember the Amari Cooper conversations about how young he was for seemed like forever. And then he made up a stat. Fun fact, he averaged 9 targets, 6 receptions, and 107 yards, and 0.56 touchdowns in games he played with a competent, healthy QB, which is not – I do not think that's a statistical filter that I could find on a website. But I did ask him for clarification. He said basically games with Joe Flacco and Deshaun Watson. But yeah, I love Amari Cooper. He's one of those dudes that I'd love to add on any competing roster. If I have him, he's not getting moved on a competing roster.
Fair. Appreciate the comment. We got another hammer from someone, 12 by 10. Superflex PPR with half-point tight end premium. So very standard. We have Jordan Love, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers at QB. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, and Rashee Rice. That is a hell of a What do you call it? Groups of 8? Is that like a
octagon? Octopus.
Sure,
It's called an octopus.
This is a hell of an octopus at receiver. We got the 8 legs of the octopus at receiver here. We listed Saquon and Javonte Williams at running back. That's it. Then we have Dalton Kincaid at tight end. We haven't had the draft yet. So 1, 10, 11, 202, 204, 206. This is a 12-teamer, so we have 6 picks in the top 18. Real quick, Shane, this is a simple question. 30 seconds on how to buy a hammer. We have a lot of stuff. Looks like this team does not have a problem getting draft picks. What do? We have about 15 assets here and a start 10. Give me 2 moves you're making off this team.
I mean, the most creative way is moving CD because that's the most high valued asset you have. But I don't want to do that.
Well, that's going backwards. We're trying to. We want hammers, not hammers. We want them, not sell them.
For a quarterback, but I don't want to do that. But I mean, I was going to say, like, you have CD and Hill, and then Saquon. Waddle,
what about trying to go after another hammer running back instead of paying the quarterback price and just rolling with the quarterbacks you have and maybe buy a 4th if you need one down the road? I mean, first of all, we don't need to make all these draft picks. Do you agree with that? We don't need to draft more receivers on this team, which is what a lot of those picks are going to become. Best player available at 110, 111, 202.
Running back.
Is probably going to be a receiver unless you like Jonathan Brooks or, hell, I might take Bo Nix or Michael Penix on this team, right? Why not? Like, this would be a team you'd be willing to take one, but I don't need to draft Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy. I mean, dude, I'm already rolling out Rashee Rice as my wide receiver 8. And I think he's better than probably most of the receivers in this class if you had to choose between all of them. So
yeah, I mean, so Flowers could be a sell. Waddle could be a sell. Godwin's not going to be a sell because, well, people aren't buying. Rice probably isn't a sell because people aren't buying.
I think it's got to be Waddle because, like you said, everybody else, DJ Moore, Flowers or Waddle, because DJ Moore, DK, Godwin are all guys that they feel like more valuable to you than what somebody would pay for them. You know what I mean?
Right. DJ Moore is weird. Some people still, you got to get a feeling in your league. Some people are concerned about him, and some people not so much.
Did you hear? Not to stray from someone's question, but did you hear the overreaction pod with Chase this week? And he talked about rookie receivers and receivers with rookie quarterbacks and the historic odds that they have 1,000-yard seasons. And I know it's just a basic stat, but dude, if you draft in people are expecting the Bears to have 3,000-yard receivers, and DeAndre Swift to be a top 20 running back. And unless Caleb Williams is going for 4,500 and 35 touchdowns, then I'm okay selling any Bears receiver. And in this case, you have DJ Moore. So
the problem is I listen to podcasts at work, and sometimes people have the nerve to come in and talk to me while I'm at work, which is really annoying. And I did listen to the overreaction pod while I was at my desk. So I definitely missed that. So if you want to go ahead and send me the cut up of where that's at, because that actually would be useful for my next Shane Says episode for something that I'm discussing. That would be absolutely good to buttress one of my arguments. Well, actually, 2 of my arguments. About 2.
Well, Trophy Chase, that guy in the Discord.
I know him. I know him.
He can maybe send you a link to the Destination Devi pod feed, which Scott, also have shows on there.
Scott, here's the thing. You know my memory, not great. I am very scared to open Discord because you know what else is not great? My internet connection. Because I open Discord and everything could just go down right now.
Oh, yeah. Just for the sake of the listeners, let's stay off Discord until we're done with the stream. Thank you for the hammer, someone. We have a 3 hammer question from RBs Don't Matter, 12 by 9. This is a 3-parter, Shane. So sit back and enjoy the reading. We have Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Zamir White, and Cans. So it's bad when you go right to Zamir White and then Cans. So, boom, 1 running back. We now have some good receivers. Jamar, DJ Moore, Tank Dell, Jaden Reed, Deontay Johnson, Luke Musgrave. We also have the 101, 225 first, 225 second. Strategy question. Common theme is obviously to acquire hammers. Yep. Boom. Got my real hammer for the stream tonight. I don't have my hammer hat that's sitting back there. I have like a wide array of hats that I usually just throw one on for the stream. So part 2, one look at this team, and it says take Marv at 101. While I don't disagree, when does it become a better strategy to take Caleb and use the quarterback capital to buy hammer running backs and receivers as the season unfolds? For the sake of discussion, example, Marv is elite, but am I better off buying a package like Olave and ETN with the 101? Thanks. Appreciate you guys. Keep up the good work. So, yeah, thank you for the question. Let's give this one a minute or two, Shane. Like, we have a specific question, ETN and Olave for the 101 with this roster where we already have Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, or just in general, what's your approach with a team like this? Well, clearly this team is good enough to probably win. Like, this team's in a tough spot. I already have Josh Allen, right? And Jamar Chase. Like, I don't want to waste good seasons with them because I don't have enough players to compete. And it is a start 9. So just a couple hammers can go a long way. But what are you doing here? Is this obvious just taking Marv at 101 for you? Just given that he fits the definition of a hammer and it's at a spot where you could still use extras?
Yeah, and I'm kind of working backwards. So his question about, when do you want to, I guess.
Well, strategy question. One look at the team says
baby?
take Marv because I have Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. But what he wants to know is he better off taking Caleb, having the 3 quote-unquote elite QBs, and kind of shop around to see if there's a better hammer that becomes available? Or do you just try to trade the 101 for a package like he's referencing, Olave and ETN, or something where you're getting a 2-for-1, where you're not clearly getting like a top 20 player, but you're getting 2 very startable pieces even in a start 9?
Right. No, I don't want to do the whatever's behind door number 2, where I'm trading startable pieces, because I think it's easier to find startable pieces as opposed to finding elite pieces. I think it's actually, I know that it's easier to find startable pieces than it is to find elite pieces. And we believe, and we could be wrong, obviously, but we believe, and profile suggests, that Marvin Harrison is going to be an elite piece, right? What we believe and what we think based off his profile is that Marvin Harrison is going to be a top 12, if not top 6 wide receiver, which is a lot harder to find than, this pains me to say, a wide receiver 2, like what Chris Olave was last year. And even though Travis Etienne was, I believe, running back 6 off the top of my head, I think that's correct. He wasn't incredibly efficient to get there, and we don't think that he's particularly special. And that could be fleeting. So no, I don't want to do that. And it's start 9. Now, if it was start 11 and you're telling me I could get Olave and ETN for Marvin Harrison, I still wouldn't take it probably. But if you could give me Olave and a similarly like valued wide receiver as the Travis Etienne, then we might talk. But yeah, in 12 by 9, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, and it's funny because he has Marvin Harrison's wide receiver 5, right? You have a hammer sitting there, but we're thinking about drafting Caleb so then we can try to trade down the road for a non-quarterback hammer. Is there nerves because you haven't seen Marvin Harrison put up a 1,500-yard season yet, so you don't count him as a hammer, yet he's wide receiver 5? You see what I'm saying? Like, basically you're saying, okay, the only players I can trade for are the 4 receivers higher than Marv and maybe a running back or 2 or 3 at most. But shy of them, I mean, what is the point of drafting Caleb to then turn around and go, can I get a hammer skill player when there's one sitting in front of you? So I'm probably taking Marv. Obviously, you can try to trade for one of those players you value higher than Marv, but I think there's a little bit of, we value Marv as wide receiver 4 or 5, but people that are going, I care about what he produces day 1, are not as excited as what his dynasty value says. So last question, would you trade that pick for Breece Hall or Bijan in a start 9, given all we have is Zamir White? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I could live with that. I prefer getting one of those receivers ahead of Marv, but if you said I'm just not wanting a rookie receiver, I could live with Bijan or Breece.
Yeah.
Cool. Good question from RBs don't matter clearly with his roster. Running backs don't seem to matter. We have a 3-hammer one from Joe Sedillo. Thank you, Joe. 10 by 12 Superflex PPR, 2 tight end premium. So I assume that means 2 PPR. Sometimes I get confused. Is it start 2 or is it 2 PPR? We'll assume 2 PPR. 4 point per passing touchdown. That's probably listed for a reason, Shane, because we're looking at different quarterback archetypes here. Lamar, Goff, Cousins, Penix. And Rashad White, Jalen Warren at running back. I assume that's Chase Brown, but we have Chase listed twice. So it'd be great if you could put Jamar Chase at running back and get running back points for his points. That'd be cool. But I'm guessing that might be Chase Brown. And then B-Rob, because then he lists Chase again. We have Chase, A.J. Brown, Rashee Rice, Jaden Reed, Nuke Hopkins, LaPatra, not Laporta, LaPatra. Trey McBride. Man, we have, look at that tight end room, man. We have 2 PPR. We're loaded with Laporta, McBride, Pitts, and Njoku. Ran the war, realized QB would be overvalued, top tight end, scored a bunch of points, so I traded down to the startup, set myself up with a nice horde. What do you guys think of my Zag? I traded J.J. McCarthy, Jordan Addison, and my first for Lamar. What do you think about that trade first? And then we'll talk about his team briefly.
So let's see. We traded a rookie quarterback.
Traded that Vikings, that back-end Vikings stack. JJM and Jordan Addison.
Flip. We traded a wide receiver with value and a 25 first. Yeah, I like it a lot. Like it a lot.
And wouldn't you agree in a 2 PPR when the tight ends are rivaling the wide receiver 2s or better that you are fine just starting all of those tight ends every week pretty much?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a 2 tight end premium or if it's 2 tight ends, but either way.
Either one. If it's 2 PPR, though, you can literally flex those guys without really regard to what else you're. Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, he's thin at receiver, but then I'm seeing his tight ends going, why do I need a DJ Moore or a Michael Pittman? I mean, Njoku's outscoring those guys in 2 PPR. You know what I mean? Pitts,
yeah,
the tight ends should keep pace with your standard wide receiver 2s, if not outscore them. So you're good.
Easy. If this is 2-point tight end premium, like your worst tight end, Pitts is like your questionable one, right? Like that's the dude that like DJ Moore would outscore based off last year's numbers, but
and here's the hidden value of that is that we are also playing keep away. Like what everybody else has access to at tight end is way lower now because I have these 4. So well done. Good zig when everybody else didn't value those tight ends. Shane, I got your favorite question. I don't know if you got anything from the chat to give you a minute break because this question is going to be good.
Oh, yeah. I started some. Here's some. Well, someone was in there. Apparently, we opened this up last night because there's one from. Nope. We've got one from 10:27 a.m. So I didn't have a choice. I had to.
Morning bird, Anthony. Thank you. So Anthony says, strategy question: how does the value of QBs in a 12-team Superflex league compare to the value in a 10-team 2 QB league? I'll take that one. I think it's very similar. You're dealing with 2 market factors, right? There is a scarcity in a 12-team league, but it's because you're dividing up the war range that is going to naturally cut itself off at what? Wide quarterback 15 to 18. If you look at any graph, the production starts to drop off to replacement value right around that range. So in a super flex, in a 12-teamer, I'm kind of looking at like if I just have 2 QBs that are above that line, 2 top 12, 2 top 15, I can survive. Doesn't mean I thrive. Like I'd rather have 2 top 6, sure. But in a 10-team, you have to have probably 3 quarterbacks, right? Because you have to start 2. 10 teams start 2 QB. You probably want to have 3. But how many times have you heard me say in a 10-team, I don't even care who my QBs are. As long as I have like a rotation or a stable, that the advantage is going to matter at the top. But like between QB 8 and QB 15, there's going to be 0 difference, even in the league where you have to start 2. So I'm looking at that. Like I'm fine with a quarterback room of Purdy, Goff, Watson in a 10-team 2 QB, assuming I can't just add something because other people aren't going to value those guys hardly at all compared to Lamar Jackson. So I'm not even going to get credit when I'm trying to trade in a 10-team league a lot of times for those mid-tier QBs. So I'd rather just build out like 4 of them and be fine with that. So that's my take. I don't know if you had any 15-second thoughts on that question.
Nah, man, I'm not going to talk just to talk.
Cool. Got one more you want to throw in there? Because this next question you're gonna have to think. There we go. Tyler
I just
Skinner,
like when
really
people
shout
say
out.
nice things to us. Yeah.
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 Actionable, enjoyable to listen to. Thanks for not taking yourselves too seriously, but still giving great advice. That's literally, this is not a serious show for most of the time. It's just, I haven't got to hang out with Shane for like a day and a half. And so this is literally just us hanging out and talking Dynasty. We're just doing it on a stream for everybody. All right. You know this league, Shane. I don't even almost want to answer this. I want to answer this on the AMA because this is from Vapad, who's one of the Discord members. But this is his 32-teamer, 5 flexes. You remember that league that he asked about in the Discord a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
That makes your head spin because it's got IDP players. And I'll just say this. If it was just 5 offensive skill players, I could give you the analytics on what matters and what doesn't very easily. But we have defensive players. So believe it or not, they do contribute to the overall total amount of WAR or production. I don't know what the scoring is like, but like a lot of people will ask IDP questions and it's like, oh yeah, it's start 9, but we start 12 on defense and the scoring is, linebackers are scoring more than running backs. Like, okay, then it's the offensive construction's not going to matter as much, right? Because there's all these other variables that are thrown into the equation every week that we can't account for. So here, he has 6 IDP starters. So I don't know how much those matter. But he's got a question for you. He's got Amon-Ra, Drake May, Will Levis, Justin Fields, Tajay Spears. Those were his picks. Are you still taking 3 QBs here, Shane? Take BPA always, prioritize stacks, planning on punting IDP and tight end. Does WAR support going heavier at RB or running back? WAR. Okay. I'm going to let you chime in, and if it wants to be just a cheeky response, because here's the problem. A lot of these tools don't actually compute leagues like this because it breaks the tool. The WAR tool, God love it, but if you don't have a quarterback position in there, it cannot calculate replacement value for the super flex spot, right? Because it doesn't have the capability when there is nothing to replace it. Everything can replace it.
So a couple things. So Vapad, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. He actually sent us a video to watch, and yes, it was interesting because he actually did a video. I don't know if he released it. He wanted some feedback. Sorry, Vapad. It took me about 4 different times to watch it, not because I didn't find it interesting, but because I don't have the attention span to sit down and watch videos, and the video was about 20 minutes long. So sending it to me was probably one of the worst moves he could have made. So I will tell you this, I did like it. So if Vapad releases his video on YouTube, everybody make sure you check it out. And it was about one of the things he was discussing was weird leagues, but that's not how he phrased it.
Does that mean you can fix the war machine, Shane?
This league, I have no freaking idea, dude. This league is freaking weird. There is no right answer for this league. There is no league that I've ever seen that I can compare this to. I've never been in a league remotely like this. I can't, I don't play in, I play in a couple single QB leagues, right? One home league and then some other, just other random leagues. Not many. But I understand the concept.
But you've never been in a 32-team, no quarterback, start 5?
I don't even understand the concept of this league. I don't. Sure, drafting 3 quarterbacks, it might be a good idea.
Here's my thought. It's supposed to mimic a real NFL offense, right?
Right.
Most teams are going to have a quarterback, a running back, and 3 skill players, whether that's 2 receivers and a tight end, or 3 receivers, or something like that. So I'm guessing it's supposed to mimic actual NFL offenses where you get 5 skill players. Because if you think about it, a lot of times you're going to have a fullback or a blocking tight end or just a peripheral piece and 5 linemen, right? So I think it's supposed to mimic an actual NFL team. But when it comes to fantasy scoring, it does matter if you're required to start a quarter. Obviously, if you had to start a quarterback, wouldn't you think there'd be a reason that he wouldn't be able to get he wouldn't be able to get 3 quarterbacks, right?
Right.
Meaning that should probably speak to sometimes the answers to your questions are not in somebody else telling you the answer. It is literally with what your league is doing. We talked about this earlier with the quarterback horde question, right? Shane, this is a 32-team league. But they're letting him get like Justin Fields in the 4th, which means once you get to a certain range, what do people not care about? Quarterbacks, right? Yes. Like they're basically saying, sure, you can have Justin Fields until he's not a starter, and then you're not going to want him anymore. But even if he is a starter, you can only start one. So I don't know if the quarterback horde makes sense. War Machine says won't work because there's not a quarterback spot. Yeah, I think the league can kind of speak to you with the fact that it's a 1 QB 32-teamer, but they're letting you draft quarterbacks in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't know if there's going to be any trade value there, to be honest. That would be my example of where you can find the answer and what's already going on in your league. All right. Done with that one, and Shane, we'll get back to you, Vapad, on your video that you sent him. Tristan. One hammer for Scott. Been listening to a lot of the best ball content lately just to play the 12-team leagues on Underdog. Given that most content is geared toward tournament strategies, I'm curious about the optimal approach for the 12-team leagues. Obviously, roster construction and stacking remain relevant, while Week 17 correlation doesn't matter. Is Week 17 game stacking the only difference? Is stacking any more important than just prioritizing the best players and values, since the goal is to accumulate the most points over the season? For instance, in this format, pairing Kyler with McBride more advantageous than pairing Burrow with Kincaid. Thanks. So, Shane, just think of Underdog, but you're not playing against hundreds of thousands. You're literally only playing against 12. So you can kind of think of like Dynasty game theory, too, because you're playing against a limited pool. You're not graduating, and your team has to then beat the other 480,000 teams that also beat their team or beat their league already, right? Like that's where you're thinking, okay, I'm already going into the reason that you're trying to do all this correlation and game stacking in like Best Ball Mania 5 is because there's literally 680,000 teams and you're trying to beat all of them. So what are you shooting for? The one outcome that goes your way, right? The one game where you have 4 players and it's 51-48. And you have 90 points between 3 players. Like that's really what you're shooting for. That obviously doesn't matter so much in a 12 team where you're just playing against your league. So my quick advice would mean roster construction still matters. But I also think correlation for very slim outcomes also can be a play, meaning like the McBride Kyler stack. But I would probably not care as much about the correlation of the games, just looking for places where maybe I didn't spend as much capital. Like if I'm not spending on tight end because I don't care about the correlation, get your quarterback stacked with your tight ends. Like that, it's an easy hack where tight end doesn't matter on Underdog, but that would be a place where I'd go. I would prioritize maybe reaching a little bit just for that. But otherwise, I think he's correct. You're only playing against 12 teams. A lot of the correlation stuff is out. So stick with your normal roster construction. Don't go completely rogue because of some ADP value or something in your league would be my advice. All right. Next one. We have 3 from Dustin Koenig. 12 by 10. Yeah, Dustin. Thank you for the triple hammer, Dustin. 12 by 10 PPR, half-point tight end premium. Allen Hurts, James Conner. I assume that's Aaron Jones and Cans. We have Ayuk, Nico, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Jacoby Myers. Kittle, Goddard, no picks. Traded JSN and Zay Flowers for the 107, the 203, and a 26th third. What do you think about that deal? That's the first part of the question. JSN Flowers for the 107, 203, and a 26th third. Did he get enough?
No. I don't.
Would you have wanted another bite at the apple in the first there instead of the 203 and a third?
Yes. We should have gotten more back. They're worth more on the market.
Oh, and here's the next part, which makes it doesn't seem like it's getting any better for him. Couldn't trade up to get Neighbors or May. Ended up trading back. Then sent the 107 for Rashee Rice in the 206 and another third. So we basically left the draft by getting Rashee Rice, the 206, a 25 third. We also had the 203, which is where we drafted Pearsall, I assume, or Penix, one of the two. So, Shane, we ended up getting Rashee Rice, Michael Penix, Ricky Pearsall, and 2 thirds. for JSN and Flowers. Do you like the accumulation of that or no?
I do not. No. Yeah, Dustin, I think this was one of those situations where you were just kind of trading. I don't want to say you were just trying to trade.
What would you wash Rashee Rice over JSN or Flowers, or do you just think the market doesn't prefer the suspended receiver, even if you say he's just as good as those two?
Well, I mean, the problem is, even if I washed him for one or the other, there's still the fact that there's another one floating out there. So even if I
but you can argue you got Michael Penix, Ricky Pearsall, who is a first-round receiver, and 2/3 for one of JSN or Flowers. You don't like that breakdown? Getting 5 assets for 2?
No. I understand that 5 is more than 2. If we're doing that,
Shane does not have the affinity for thirds like Scott does, do you?
No. Is it best ball?
No.
It's
I think it's just a 12 by 10, 1.5 tight end premium. Nothing fancy.
No, I'm not particularly enamored with that. Like we split up JSN and Flowers into, I'd much rather have used those 2 to tier up. And instead, it feels like we split them up into assets. And I really don't like the assets we ended up with. I like Rice. Fine enough. You know that. But Ricky Pearsall, meh. Penix, Penix is a guy that I've drafted as a consolation prize. Like, all right, I have to take him here. I don't have a choice. He's a quarterback, and it's 204.
Would you be wanting to take him on a team where you have Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, though?
Not really.
Because what's your plan if you draft him, right? Is you're trying to trade him, and what are you probably trying to trade him for? A first, where maybe you have a shot to draft another JSN, right?
Right.
I mean, hopefully you get a better player. But the point was, I think he got a little too cute with wanting to move JSN and Flowers just to get rid of them, because maybe it's because we've been saying all offseason, like, those are not difference-making receivers. Even if they're good, they're 12 to 15 point per game receivers. There's a lot of those. What I don't like is, you know what I'd have rather done, Shane? Traded both of them for 26 firsts or 25 firsts and just liquidated them instead of getting cute by turning them into 5 assets. Because now I'm going to have to do more work on what are the odds Ricky Pearsall is better than JSN or Zay Flowers. Not a bet I would want to make, right?
Yes.
And then now I'm going to have to do more work on Penix probably to trade him for another first, So just feels like you just created more work for yourself, even if you didn't lose in value in the long run.
Right.
All right. We got 3 hammers from Brad. Brad R, 3 hammers. This is a best ball startup right up your alley, Shane. Okay. Especially with all this scoring. So put your thinking brain on, get your best ball. Hammers don't matter as much in best ball. So we have a start 12. So a lot of starters. You got to have that in best ball. 2. See, this is how you list it. This is a 2 tight end league, 0.75 premium, 0.1 point per carry, and 0.25 running back PPR. So running backs are completely neutered PPR wise, only 0.25. They get the 0.1 point per carry, but the cheat code receiving guys are not nearly as valuable here, whereas the hammer running backs, the Najee Harris types here, are much more valuable. Would you pick from the 103 or the 111? And then he has hashtag HN mini hammer. So that's the question. You have your choice. Best ball, 103 or 111. I know what I'm doing.
So it's 103,
202 and the 302 with the 3rd round reversal. So you're getting 3 top 26 picks. Otherwise, you are not picking again until the 210, and then you have to wait till the 310. But I'm not passing up on the hammer quarterback here.
Yeah.
In best ball, I'm still taking the hammer QB. There's so many starters here with such eclectic scoring. You know what I'm not going to have a problem doing here, Shane, is filling players.
You said eclectic. And also, if I take the 103, and I'm not saying I can because it is best ball, I still have the ability, or at least the option, or at least the opportunity to move back a little bit from 103 and try to acquire some additional assets, and still get the quarterback at least in that elite tier. So yeah. Give me the 103 now that Scott has helped me with the math and let me know where my picks will be after that. I will go with the 103.
Yeah, and I think it's just the format is going to create value for all the positions. Tight end, it's going to be start 2 with 1.75, right? Like people are going to value tight ends here. People are going to value receivers still. So I think there's just so much depth that I never feel bad if I'm getting Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, you know what I mean? And just starting the draft there. I'll fix the rest later. So I appreciate the question. We got time for 2 more, Shane. Then we'll probably maybe do an extra hammer stream sometime this weekend or something to catch up. But Coltrane, quick one. 12x9, T-Law, Tua, Goff, May, Knicks. Man, that's a nice QB room there, huh? 5 dudes you just absolutely love. Bijan, Achane, Najee, Ramondre Stevenson, and Cans, Lamb, Olave, London, Smitty, JSN, Adunze, Brian Thomas Jr., Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers, George Kittle, 225 first, a second, and a third. What's the take on a depth over hammer with a team like this? There's the team. It's a start 9, Shane. We've listed like 18 assets here. I don't know how many you'd classify as hammers, but maybe what? Bijan, Lamb, Laporta. Some could be hammers. Adunze could be a hammer.
Bowers.
You know, a Bowers, Achane, Olave. I mean, he's got some
Olave
potential.
Just Olave, it's in the realm.
There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth. What are you doing here? Are you just getting some more picks and just banking them? Since I literally do not need Devontae Smith or Jackson Smith and Jigba on a team like this.
Just re-roll. Wait, but Jackson Smith and Jigba, according to Mike McDonald, I did hear Trophy Chase say that. I think it was Trophy Chase that was telling me that Mike McDonald's telling he's going to be a huge part of the offense this year.
Sure.
And then Trophy Chase went on to say that he said that about everyone on.
You know how you guarantee yourself a hammer, Shane? You get like 7 firsts next year, which you have the assets to turn 3 of these players into 3 more firsts and just give yourself a very wide net. You're going to whiff on a couple of those picks. You're going to draft a bunch of other JSNs and Najees. You're going to go, these aren't hammers. Why did I draft them? But you're going to get one.
Smitty, JSN, Stevenson. I'll take a 27 first for some of these dudes. I mean, why not?
Brian Thomas Jr. Like that wouldn't even be a guy I'd want to draft on a team like this. Just, re-roll him, shoot for something better. And if I have 7 firsts next year, I have the odds of getting, a 101 or a 102 or a 103. That's where I'm going to find the hammers, barring you can't just trade 4 for 1 or something and trade for 1. All right, Coltrane, thank you for the question. We'll do one more. This is a one hammer from someone. 16 teams, start 9, 1 QB. Start a running back, 2 receivers, and the rest are flexes. So I'm assuming it's like 1, 1, 2, 5 flexes. Don't even have to start a tight end. It doesn't appear. There's the team. Lamar, Russ Wilson, Breece Hall, JT, Khalil Herbert, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Debo Samuel, Deontay Johnson, Rashid Shaheed, Kelsey Muth, the 112, the 204, and the 207. And Shane, remember, the 204 and 207 here are pick 20 and 23 in a 1 QB. So you're probably looking at like Jermaine Burton, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley, Ray Davis, like that type. So those picks look way better on paper than what they actually are. Let's see. Won it last year. Want to run it back. Where should I be looking to make moves, add hammers? We got 30 seconds on this one. There's also 16 teams. What about different roster construction? Activity is mid. Don't have time to go through the roster construction because it's kind of a unique league with a unique setup. But 30-second answer, Shane. Any advice on what you'd do here? Just quick trades or quick moves? Any tiers you'd try to trade into?
I mean, it's obvious he needs a wide receiver, right? That's really the only area, because you're looking at Lamar. Well, that's perfect for a 1 quarterback league. Breece, JT, that running back room's excellent.
Would you give Kelsey, 112 and 204 for Zay Flowers?
Yeah. No.
You're stacking with Lamar. And remember, 112 is like you're getting like Ricky Pearsall and Jalen Wright. That's what you're getting with those picks. It's a 1 QB.
Fine. Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That 204.
That's the kind of move you make because you probably don't need a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You're not getting any hammers. Get a stack. You already have Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor. You already have good enough receivers to get by. Give yourself another shot at a stack. You're starting Lamar. You might as well get his best receiver weapon if you can't get Andrews. You could try for Andrews too. Could you add to Kelsey and get Andrews? I'd almost rather just give Flowers though, because Kelsey feels like, the best you can do, and you're not going to get the return that he could give you. So that would be my advice with that team. Thank you for the hammer. Shane, it is 9:31. This is about time where you take a little bit of a break before we head into the Discord. You want to hit one more? You want to throw anything from the chat? I'll give you a couple minutes. We'll close it out.
Yeah, let's hit someone else that was in here at like 4 a.m. Sean, we didn't get them all, and I apologize, but
yeah, rip it off. You read it.
Sean, 12 team, half point tight end premium. Good Lord, Shane. Superflex, start 9. Josh and Trevor, Brees, Bijan, Gibbs, Cans, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, Debo, G. Will, London, JSN, Kelsey, all his picks in 2025, plus 2 additional seconds. There's low activity. Where can he improve, and how is the best strategy to liquidate some of the old guys into 26 picks for pennies on the dollar? Is there a strategy? Is there a magic trick to turn old people into 26 picks, Scott?
No, but I think you probably go to the right manager and be willing to trade from what you can actually move. You know what you probably can't move? Debo Samuel or Devontae Adams. You know what you probably can move? Drake London or JSN.
Yes.
You don't trade from the shit you don't want. You trade from what you can move. You're not moving Josh Allen. You could probably upgrade to Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know what that would take. You're probably not trading Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, or Jahmyr Gibbs. You're literally strangling the rest of the league at running back, right? So you could trade one of those guys, but it feels like the ones you're going to want to move. Oh, yeah, who? Shane, would you want to hand this team a first for Devontae Adams so you can just stack it even more? I mean, you got to trade from what you can move, not what you don't want.
And honestly, you think you're taking a loss trading JSN and holding on Devontae Adams when honestly you're better off holding on to Devontae Adams, who's going to outscore JSN probably significantly so, and you pick up a first.
Could outscore him for 2 years.
Yeah. And yes, JSN is 45 years younger than Devontae Adams. So what? I don't care. Like, sure, you can get 10 years of mediocrity instead of 2 years of excellence.
Any others? We got time for one more, then we'll bounce.
Oh, geez, guys, so don't anyone take this personal. I'm just going to go ahead and just grab a random one. Try to make it. Here you go. Just a simple one. Troy Wilkins, 12 teams, Superflex, start 11. Kincaid in a mid 27 second, or Andrews in a mid 26 first. This is Andrews in a mid 26 first. I think we will both agree on that.
Yeah, that's not even close for me. I mean, yeah, you're giving up a 27 second, but this is putting a lot of stock into just betting Dalton Kincaid is way better. I prefer Kincaid, but not in the swap of I'm getting a 26 first, and I'm getting it's a 27 second, Shane. It's not even like a 25. You know what I mean? It's 27, so it's almost like I'm borrowing truly from the future for something that. But yeah, give me the first swap there. This was an interesting one I saw in here. You have any advice? A 10 team start 7. This is, you know what you should do? Go talk to the people in the 32 team start 5. And get together on how to think. Train your brain, because our brains probably are not in this realm.
It's start 7. So we say, we talk about hammers, but also I'm just looking for spike weeks, right? I don't want to say like Devin Chains, Anthony Richardson's. Like, go look at the people that led the leagues in spike weeks last year. Those are the dudes I want. I know I was trashing Travis. No, I don't have to say trashing, but Travis Etienne was actually one of the league leaders at running back in spike weeks last year. And when I say spike weeks, I mean I'm saying weeks with 20 plus points last year. That's what I'm looking at. Dudes like that. Like, I could give a crap about consistency. Just give me dudes that just have spike weeks, because those are the dudes that are going to win me weeks.
I will just say this. Go back and listen to that pod that I did a couple months ago on strategies for shallow leagues. I think when you have to get to a point where nobody will trade you hammers that already exist, which how many roster reviews have we done in shallow league, Shane, where it's just like all the hammers are unavailable all the time, right? I've tried to trade for Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb. They're on the other contender in the league. They're not moving them. To the point where, yeah, they would move Jamar Chase, but they need Jahmyr Gibbs and Garrett Wilson. You know what I mean? It's the deal just never manifests because the person's probably valuing those guys appropriately. The 2-for-1 isn't going to get it done where I just throw 4 pieces and get 1 stud. The underrated thing, if you have some patience, especially in a league where you think it's going to last a while, a lot of these leagues that are shallow like this are like home leagues where they last for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like they're going to last. Hoard the draft picks. You know what people probably don't value in this league? Draft picks. You know why? Because they're not hammers. So maybe you're the one that goes, all right, over the next 2 years, I'm going to collect all the picks. You know how you would have felt if you would have collected all the picks, Shane, from 2023 and 2024? You'd be going, wow, I have Malik Neighbors, Bijan Robinson, Anthony Richardson, Roma Dunze. Like, they're not the hammers of the league, but you're getting there. You didn't have to trade 5-for-1 when you had to give up all your picks just to get one player. So it's an alternative. If you cannot trade for hammers, invest in picks and cast a wide net and say, some of my picks are never going to be Huckam hammers, but if I'm getting 12 firsts over the next 2 years, I'm probably going to run into 3 or 4 hammers just by happenstance. So sometimes that's a way you can go as well if you can't get the deals done. That's it. Let me hide this comment. We're heading over to the Discord. We're going to start over there about 9:45, take a little bit of a break, get our bearings, jump in there, maybe hit a couple more hammers, but we'll definitely hit another hammer stream sometime soon, Shane, to catch up on some of these ones that I know people are waiting for. If you've missed a hammer or if you've not gotten one and it's been more than what? How far would you say we're behind? Maybe like 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, something like that?
Sounds right. Yeah.
If it's been like a month and you haven't seen it, it's either on the hammer video that we released. Was it like last Friday or whatever it was when it came out where we did all the extra ones? It's either there or we have it pending. So if you're concerned, if you've submitted one, we'll get to it. You know, we're just like 2 shows behind. So maybe we'll do another hammer stream. But if you haven't gotten yours, let us know. Reach out to us somewhere and we'll check up on it to make sure it's still in there. But we are not going to miss them. We're going to hit all of them. It's just a matter of doing them in the order that they come in. So that is it. Another show. We're heading over to the Discord, patreon.com/allgas, and we'll see you over there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Good night.
Night, y'all.